everyone, this is Lori from My File Addiction. So today I'm going to show you how to format a Rhinestone SVG file using a free program called Inkscape. Inkscape is an okay program to use. There's a few things that happen, kind of quirky things that happen, but you can kind of get around it. I prefer to use a program called Cricut Design. The basic version costs about $60, but to me it's a little bit easier to use, and the results are a little bit more accurate as far as importing and exporting files. So, but today I'm going to kind of show you some things that could happen in Inkscape and how they can be fixed. So we're going to bring in our file. And I'm going to select import. And I'm going to go to Living My Best Life, and I'm going to open that file. Okay, so I'm going to bring in another file just to kind of show you what could happen. Import. This is a older file that I have done. And as you can see, it comes in upside down. That can be fixed pretty easily by doing a vertical flip here at the top. And then I'm going to kind of show you what could happen, or what's going to happen with this file. So as you can see, our files are grouped. So the first thing we're going to want to do is ungroup these. So we can select the file, right click, ungroup. This program sometimes doesn't ungroup a file immediately, so we have to do it again. Ungroup. And when it ungroups, you can kind of see that all the circles now have little boxes around them. So we're going to do this with the second file. Right click, ungroup. And this file ungroups the first time. So that's kind of another little, I don't know, little quirky thing that happens here. So the first thing we're going to want to do is check the size of our design. And if you don't know the dimensions of the file, the easiest way to do this is to check the size of the circles. I know for this particular file that I sized or I designed the design to be used with SS10 stones. So when I click a circle, the circle should measure 0.13 inches, and that's the size for a SS10 stone. So this file I know is sized correctly. So you can check both files or both templates, and you can see 0.13 inches. This file, if I check the circles, they measure 0.097. So Inkscape has changed the size of this design. This problem can vary from, there's so many different design programs out there that it just really kind of depends upon what program the design was made in as to how it's going to open in another program. So these issues, doesn't mean that this is a bad file. It just means we need to take the extra time to resize it back to the size that it should be. So because we might not know the size of this file or what it should be sized to, because there's obviously boxes around the design, so that's going to make it a little bit bigger than the original size that may be on the listing image. But what we're going to do is we're going to want to select all the pieces in the design. And I always suggest that if you're going to make any adjustments, that you adjust all the pieces at the same time. Rhinestone files are kind of like a puzzle. So if you want the puzzle to fit and the pieces to fit together again, you need to make adjustments to the entire design so everything is sized at one time instead of sizing each template piece individually. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull and stretch this design out to try and resize it back to a size that we can get the holes to cut for an SS10 stone. So let's deselect it, and then we're going to select a stone. So now it's measuring 0.136 inches. The 0.13 part is fine, but the 6 is a little concerning because it's getting closer to measuring 0.14 inches. So we don't necessarily want that. We want it close to as close to 1.30 as possible. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to nudge this down and drag it in just a little bit. Let's see what we got now. That's 0.134, so it's getting closer. But usually if that last number to the far right is 3 or under, I say that's pretty close. So let's just make it a little bit smaller. Okay, so now I happen to get 0.130, so that's spot on. So that's how you would manually size a file if it wasn't the correct size. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to delete this file, and I'm going to work with just this file as far as formatting, showing you how to actually format the file. So what we need to do, the problem with Design Space is if this file is uploaded like a standard SVG file where all of the circles are individual objects, your particular program cannot handle all of those objects. So we have to reduce the number of objects down to as few as possible in order to be able to upload this design into your program. And to do that, we need to actually combine all of these circles as a single object. So what you're going to do is you're going to want to select just the circles on the template. Do not include the black box. Leave the black box on there so until you when you get this into Design Space, you can delete it if you want to. But okay, so we have selected the blessed part, and we're going to go to Path, and we're going to select Combined. So now you can see if I select one circle, this is now one object. So Control Z, and we're going to bring that back. And then you can see that the black box is another object. So this, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to bring it just to the right of those circles on the far right, but not outside the black box. And we're going to go to Path, and you can do Combine, or you could do a shortcut, which is Control K. And again, we'll pull this out just to make sure we got them all, and we have, so we'll hit Control Z, brings it back. Okay, so now basically what we have here is we have 4 objects. We have 2 black boxes, we have a group of the crystal circles, and a group of the pink circles. So now what we're going to do is we're going to save this file. We're going to select it, and I don't know if you need to select it or if it just actually saves everything in the Design Space, but I'm going to select it. So I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to say Save As. And with my Cricut files, what I normally do is I add Cricut at the end of the file extension because I've played around with this so I can know what steps to tell you guys. I've already actually saved a file, so I'm just going to kind of override it. But yes, this was the name of the file, which was the original one, and then you can see that I've added Cricut. So I'm going to hit Save, and I'm going to replace. Okay, so we do not want to close out of this screen, and we don't want to alter this design at all, because I'm going to show you what happens when we bring that file into Cricut Design Space. So here we've opened our program, and we're going to go into upload, and I'm going to go to upload image, browse, and I'm going to go into find that file that has Cricut at the end of it, select it, and select open. Okay, I'm going to hit save. And this was the most recent file. And I'm going to hit insert image. And now it brings it into my program. So now another problem that may happen is either this you can see it's kind of brought it way far over to the right, or sometimes it will bring it way off your viewing area where you can't even see it. So it's I've done another video on how to, if you happen to not be able to see this file and it's way off of your screen, by looking at your position, the X and Y of your position, it will tell you how to find the file, or my video will show you how to actually bring it back into your viewing area. So you can check that out if you happen to come across that issue. But because I was able to kind of see part of it, I was able to drag it over. Okay, so right now, by looking at this file, the size of the design that came into Design Space is 7.159 by 3.553. I can tell right now, just by looking at those dimensions, that Design Space has shrunk this file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back over to Inkscape. And I am going to, because we have not changed this design in any way, I'm going to select both pieces. And I am going to, up here, look up at the top. And I'm going to change this to inches. And I'm going to write down these measurements. Just 20.293 by 10.071, and the sizing is right here up at the top. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back over to our Cricut program, and we're not going to do any ungrouping at this point. We're going to keep both these pieces grouped together, and we're going to make sure our little lock key is locked. And we're going to select the width dimensions, and we're going to type in 20.293, and we can hit enter. And now it will automatically proportionately change that design to the measurements, which are 10.071, which is the same size I wrote down that it was in Inkscape. So as long as you have that lock key selected, so it's locked, it will resize that design proportionately. If it's not locked, then you're going to have to manually type in both of those sizes. Okay, so now we have our design back up to the correct size. We're going to go over to Ungroup. And now you can see over here we actually have 4 pieces. We have the 2 black boxes, and then we have, if we select on the circle, we have the pink part, and we have the crystal part. So now at this point, if you feel like you need to delete these boxes, which the boxes are there for a reason, for people that assemble their designs by stacking their template pieces on top of each other and create a hinge method for their transfer tape, where they stick their transfer tape to the side of the template, and they place their initial template down and brush in their stones. They lay their transfer tape over the top of their template, and then instead of peeling off the whole entire transfer tape, they leave it attached and they roll it back, And then what they do is they place their second template on top of this first one. So if your templates are exactly the same measurement, it's easy to take this template and place it right on top of this one. And then this part, the black part of the box actually covers up the holes from the template on the bottom. And you can place this on top of this, pour your stones over, brush your rhinestones into your hole, and then you take your transfer tape and you roll it back over the top of your design, and now it actually will pick up the stones from this part, and it adds it to this part of the design. So you will now actually have your design all on one piece of transfer tape. So if you don't do your transfers that way and you want to do two separate transfers, or you want to eyeball it, then obviously to save yourself some flock material, you can delete these boxes. But if you decide that you want to do it the hinge method down the road, I would suggest leaving these black boxes, because at this point, once you delete them, you won't be able to add them back into this particular design. You'd have to go back to my original file and upload it back into Inkscape and do the same exact steps we did in order to get it back into this program, just like this. So if anything, this black box just creates a nice crisp outline around your design to make your templates nice and clean looking. So it's not hurting anything. It won't alter the design, and it doesn't cause any interference whatsoever. So okay, so now that you have 4 individual pieces, now you should be able to send this to your cutter, and you shouldn't have any problems with your program locking up. So I hope this video was helpful. Thanks.